Another Lily sighting thanks to Meghan Markle.
And Prince William praised for honouring culture and traditions in Wales.
Hello and welcome to Heirs and Spares, the show where we bring you insight and opinion into the lives of two rather famous royal couples on either side of the Atlantic. I'm Kinsey Schofield, and I'll be bringing you updates on the Duke and Duchess of Sussex right here in sunny California.
And I'm Katie Nicholl, and I'll be bringing you the latest on the Prince and Princess of Wales from right here in the UK, which is a little sunnier than usual. And I have to say, Kinsey, it's very British, isn't it, to talk about the weather. But after 3 months of darkness and drab, dreary January and February, finally the spring sunshine has come out. And of course, it was St. David's Day, and we had Prince William out and about, well, with Kate in Wales, and also delivering an address for St. David's Day as well. So, in a new Instagram post that he shared on Saturday, he shared footage of him and Kate doing that visit, meeting fans in Wales. The crowds were cheering, the sun was out, they were given bouquets of flowers, they were waving Welsh flags, and they had a really, really, I think, wonderful reception. You have to remember that they are, of course, the Prince and Princess of Wales, and that after the coronation, the first place that they visited, in fact, was Wales. They've always had a lovely connection with this country, particularly because it's the country where actually they spent a lot of their early relationship after they left Scotland and St Andrews. They moved to Anglesey, where William was working as a search and rescue pilot. So they were very much embraced by the Welsh community. They clearly love the country. They love the people. And William went all out. He spoke fluent Welsh whilst addressing his followers. And he's had a mixed response. Apparently, he's been learning the language on Duolingo, which is a language learning app.
Yeah.
I was reading that apparently a language professor at Cardiff University said he thought William sounded a little stilted and he could have done better. I have to say, I know Wales is only, not far from us here in England, but it's a really hard language to learn. It's a beautiful language, but hard to learn. And I actually thought he did pretty well in his delivery. And I just think it was very touching that he chose to give his whole speech in Welsh, because up until now, Kinsey, we've only heard him sort of give us little snippets in Welsh, haven't we? We've never heard him speak so fluently in Welsh.
It was so handsome. And I remember watching not only Princess Diana, but his father do it, and it being very meaningful at the time to hear his parents invest so much time into, well, and effort into, there was a comment I saw on one of the articles about just how people felt like it was respectful of their culture and their traditions. And to me, it is beautiful seeing so much change in the modernization of the monarchy, to see somebody say, actually, this is important to me, and I want to honor Wales this way.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, King Charles, he had actually very quite a formal introduction to Welsh. He learnt the Welsh language, and he studied back in 1969 at a Welsh university, and that was before his investiture as Prince of Wales. So his Welsh is excellent and faultless. And but of course, remember, William didn't have an investiture as
Yeah.
Prince of Wales. He hasn't done that whole investiture at Carnarvon Castle. I remember being told by Kensington Palace at the time that it was nothing to do with being a snub to the Welsh people. He loves Wales, but he felt it was quite archaic. You were just talking, weren't you, about the modernisation of the monarchy? He obviously felt that this was archaic and didn't sit right with his sort of modern vision of the monarchy. But I think when we see him doing these trips to Wales, it almost becomes more meaningful, I think, to the people of Wales than a stiff, formal, stuffy investiture. He's actually out there, he's meeting the people. He and Kate went and made Welsh cakes on a visit a couple of days before, had some gorgeous footage of the two of them doing that. They visited a Welsh bakery. Kate revealed that William had been practicing at home and brushing up on his baking skills and Googling how to make Welsh cakes. They served them at a they served them to locals, had a chance to interact with the people. And I think, obviously lovely that the Prince and the Princess of Wales were together. We're seeing more and more of the Princess of Wales out in public, which is just so inspiring and so wonderful and so hopeful, I think, for everyone. And lovely to see them out on the ground and meeting people. So to me, doing that ahead of St. David's Day, and then William giving this address on Instagram, again, very, very modern on St. David's Day, just I I think he's got the tone right. I mean, maybe this professor didn't think his delivery was pitch perfect, but I think he got the tone right. And from everything we've seen on the footage, I mean, I wasn't actually there on the engagement, but from everything I've seen, it looks like he was both of them were really well received.
Can I ask you a question before we move on really quickly?
Sure.
We are uh, we're hyper aware of Harry and Meghan's solo engagements or appearances. And when it comes to William and Catherine, I have felt like over the last few years, pre cancer, that we saw Catherine out a lot more by herself to the point where I was like overjoyed to see them together in Wales. And I didn't realize how much I missed seeing them together interacting. They flirt with each other like, I mean, and it's not just the holding hands in public, because I saw those headlines. It's great to see them holding hands while in public transport, but I also just love watching the way that they interact with each other, because it very much
Yeah.
feels flirtatious and sweet. um, Now, I guess I'm not as hyper aware when they are separated. I guess I just kind of got used to them doing independent ventures, because I think Catherine really does want to, her heart and soul, to be in early learning and some of those causes that she really truly is invested in and believes in. But might we see them together more often? Because I really enjoy seeing them together.
I think you are sort of typical of most fans, most royal fans, in that it's always wonderful to see them doing their solo work. And you're right, before she had to take time off for her operation and her cancer treatment, I think we were seeing more of the Princess of Wales out and about on her own, doing these solo projects, really investing her time into the early years, which has been very much her thing. But you know what, Kinsey, it's interesting because I'm thinking back to some of the earliest engagements, before they got married and the early years of their marriage. And they did do so much together. And I think that was because Kate was learning the ropes
Mm.
and getting used to life as a royal. And then we sort of saw her doing her own speeches, not necessarily dependent on William in the way that I think she was early on in her royal career. And I agree with you. I think it's so lovely that now that she is back at work and clearly loving it so much, we've seen her do some wonderful solo engagements, but how lovely to see them out and about in Wales and important as the Prince and Princess of Wales. And I think, to your point about um, joint engagements, you know, they do. I think they do tend to get more attention because it's lovely to see William and Catherine interacting the way that they do. And you can see there's a lot of banter, a little bit of rivalry over who's made the better Welsh cakes, who's the tastiest. Kate ribbing William a bit that he'd been checking up on Google on how to make them and practicing ahead of time. And I think all of that just puts a lovely natural charm into a royal engagement, and I just think it's it's really lovely to see.
Yes, I look forward to more of them because I do just adore watching them engaging with each other. Let's talk about, because it would be silly not to acknowledge Meghan Markle's show that comes out today. We haven't seen it yet. Um,
Not yet.
yeah, but the countdown is on. We will see it within the next few hours. And the Daily Beast is pointing out that we're getting a little bit more access to Lily specifically through Meghan Markle's latest ventures as ever. And with Love, Meghan. We don't know if the children will be shown at all on the series. I don't believe they will be.
Mm.
We haven't seen them at all throughout any of the promotion for it. Netflix has uploaded 2 videos to promote it, a trailer and a teaser, and the children are not featured in that. We have seen Meghan's dog Guy, but and briefly, very briefly, Prince Harry. And I've heard conflicting stories that he just appears in episode 8 or that he appears in 1, 2, and 8. So we'll have to see what actually is true there. But do you have an issue with Harry and Meghan being very protective over their children? And I know the answer to that is no, because we've both defended that a lot. If they don't want to give us access to their kids, that's their prerogative. They're no longer working royals. But when I continue the question, unless there is something monetarily involved like Netflix, do you have an issue with the fact that they are very picky about when they share their children with us, but bizarrely, it's really only been through Netflix cameras that we have had access to them. The Harry and Meghan series, which was a commercial success for Netflix, featured them a lot. And
Mm.
now we're getting bits and pieces of Lily through As Ever and Meghan on
Yeah.
Instagram sharing a video of Serena Williams and Lily. Do you is and maybe you don't have an opinion on it. That's okay too, but is she inviting criticism when there is very limited access to the kids
Well,
typically?
I think she is. I think she is inviting criticism. But as we've said before, Kinsey, everything she does is so divisive anyway. We complain we're not seeing enough of the children, and then when we do see them, she's attacked for cashing in on her kids. I mean, I suppose, the couple would say, and having spoken to people that work closely with them, it's that they want to be controlling the narrative, they want to be issuing any pictures of their children. And I suppose, given that she is the one in front of the camera, but also, directing that, well, not directing formally, but this is her show. She can therefore control how her children are seen, how they're used in anything that might be seen to be. I mean, this isn't technically promotional material, but the timing, as the Beast points out, is just, the day before her show comes out. It's the first we've really seen of Lilibet for a while. And my goodness, doesn't she look beautiful and very grown up? And of course, with her auntie, Serena Williams. So I think people will say, well, you do look like you're cashing in here, and this is all part of a marketing campaign. And Meghan would probably say it's on my terms, and I'm happy to do it in this situation. What I'm not happy with are snatched paparazzi pictures of my children when I'm taking them to nursery and to school. And I think everyone respects that. I always think it's tricky, Kinsey, when you go so out to be so fiercely protective of your children, and then put them in front of the cameras, however that might be. And I think, when I think about how William and Kate have done it, obviously there is a huge interest in their children because George is the future king. We get a little, but we don't get a lot. And maybe we're going to start getting a little bit more than we used to having out of the Sussexes. But I think she is inviting criticism by doing it, conveniently the day before her show comes out. But obviously, she's very excited about it. As you say, we haven't seen it yet. I suspect a lot of people will be binge watching it when it comes out. And you and I were just speaking, weren't we, Kinsey, before we went on air about, just what to expect and how well this is going to do for Meghan. And my feeling is that, if she can come across as her authentic self, if we can see some of that playfulness, um, and this is a good, creative, original idea, then, potentially it has got the potential to turn their fortunes around, to really launch them as something serious, because we haven't had a huge hit since Harry and Meghan, the docuseries.
Right. And if they do have success, I have heard over and over that the royal family isn't wishing ill on them because success for Harry and Meghan means that they will head in a different direction. And that direction is away from any sort of criticism towards the British royal family. They will chase success in the direction that they find it. But I wanted to ask you about a People magazine quote. Prince Harry, according to Meghan, she saw a sparkle in his eye when he observed her getting back to her roots and this kind of the Tig pre-Harry world where she's being creative and trying to create. I think she's, what is it, turning normal moments into wonder, or the tagline is something like that.
Yeah.
Now, I talked to Duncan Larkham and Robert Jobson recently, and this is kind of in the children realm too. Duncan said Meghan has pursued this type of world all of her life. This is really something she aspires to be, on the cover of People magazine with a billboard in Times Square, promoting her new Netflix series. But this is the type of lifestyle Prince Harry has rejected all of his life. Prince Harry never wanted to be famous. He almost resented being famous. And now you throw the kids in the mix. And I imagine that Prince Harry is fiercely protective of the children because of his own experiences. It's something that
Yeah.
Meghan can't relate to. All these cameras following you as you're walking behind your mother's coffin. I can't imagine. Do you think that they've hashed that out and that there's an understanding of what's appropriate or inappropriate? Or do you think they're just going with the flow? And if something upsets Prince Harry, she pulls back?
Look, I think it's quite telling, isn't it, that that comment was made about Harry having a bit of a sparkle in his eyes, seeing Meghan do what she loves. I mean, let's not forget that, he fell in love with this woman who can make a wonderful roast chicken, who was always pottering around the kitchen, in the garden, very homely, the ultimate domestic goddess. I mean, that's the woman he fell in love with when she was living in Toronto, and she was doing all these wonderful things for him. So I think, given the past few years, given how tumultuous it's been, given how, I suppose, uneasily Meghan fitted into royal life, I'm sure he's absolutely delighted to see her doing something that she absolutely loves. And, you can hear it. You saw it in the promotional videos. You can hear her excitement about all of this. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of nerves as well, because, of course, it's important that this does well for her. But I do think for Harry, he's probably incredibly proud of her. Very, very happy that he's got a happy wife who's doing what she wants to be doing. I mean, is it possible for their star to explode even more than it is? I mean, I think it's unlikely that they can actually be any more famous than they are. It's almost like they've reached that glass roof. I think, I think the point is, and Meghan made this comment to People magazine, that Archie had sort of pleaded with her not to work too hard. I think that's probably more the risk factor, is that, I think she's a real grafter. She's a real workaholic. I think she'll really throw herself into this. And if it does well, which she's obviously hoping it will, then, she's going to go after more. She's ambitious in that respect. And I don't mean that with a negative undertone at all. She and Harry set out to be, the kings and queens of content at Netflix. That really hasn't been the case since the Harry and Meghan docu-series. So this is an opportunity to turn things round. We were just talking, weren't we, about William and Kate as a duo act and how successful that is. We've heard a lot about Harry and Meghan doing things independently. We don't know how much he appears in this series, but we understand it's pretty fleeting. I think it's just going to be interesting to watch. Is her success really going to sort of take off after this without him? That's going to be an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I also remember not too long ago, and we, of course, we are always dealing with sources this, sources that, but I remember it really being pushed that she wanted to be behind the scenes, and we saw her at that variety, the Power of Women event, where she was sitting with other producers, and we got the sense that she kind of teased a couple of projects on the red carpet, and we got the sense that she wanted to be this powerhouse producer for Meet Me at the Lake. It's interesting to see this pivot. Some might not call it a pivot because she was pitching these types of shows in the UK before she even met Prince Harry. But I did feel like there was a moment where I understood that they really wanted to be behind the camera. They didn't like the idea of this, the what's required of you to be on camera. And sometimes it's just really raw and authentic, and the good, the bad, and the ugly. I mean, I only have one reality show that I am guilty of watching. It's called Southern Charm. But you see people at their best and you see people at their worst, and they acknowledge it. They're like, you just got to go with the flow, and you have to show up and apologize. And I hate it, but you got to do it. And I guess I am a little surprised to see her go on camera and to pursue this after truly years of the whispers that she really wanted to go the production route. And now
Yeah.
these questions swirling around whether Meet Me at the Lake will ever come to fruition. I don't know. I guess I'll ask you to comment on that before we wrap, but we've got a couple of crazy days ahead of us, so we're going to have to keep this chat
We will,
short.
and just one thing to that point, Kinsey, as well. As I think, I think she did say, didn't she? She wanted to be a producer. She made it clear she wasn't going to go back into Suits or necessarily go into acting again. But this isn't acting, this is different. This is a different kind of format. And of course, it's got a huge commercial element attached to it. And, ultimately, this is about making money. This is about selling the products as well. as Meghan, with her cooking, crafting, gardening, and everything else. So it's we're not seeing her in the same capacity that we have seen her before. But as you say, this isn't a production role. This is Meghan taking stage front and center. So I
Wait,
think we'll
really,
be watching
really, really
closely.
quickly. I lied. I have one more question for you. I
Yeah.
watched the Baldwins and really felt like it was a masterclass in PR. They're the new Baldwin show where Alec Baldwin and Hilaria are truly trying to change public perception because of the murder of Helena Hutchins. I should say it was not. She was killed. It was an accidental death of Helena Hutchins. I want to be careful about my wording there. Um, that was a masterclass. Is this a PR exercise, or is it truly Meghan trying to set herself up to sell product, which is kind of this is a commercial venture, or do you also consider this a PR exercise, Meghan trying to change public perception of her?
You know what, Kinsey? I think the answer is it's both.
Mm-hmm.
It's both. It is a genuine attempt to turn this around, to create a successful original TV program that's going to make them money and hopefully for them do well. And in doing so, perhaps just turn back that tide of opinion and win her back some much needed support.
There she goes. That's the mic drop moment right there. Thank you so much, Kitty. You're so smart. I'm so glad you're my friend. Agree with us, disagree with us. We prefer that if you agree with us, let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. Kitty, any last words before we fall into Meghan mania over the
No,
next 7 hours?
I'm gonna get the popcorn out and just sit there munching, watching, and I really can't wait to speak to you and hear what you think about it,
I
okay?
look forward to talking to you again soon. I hope you've got your most comfiest pajamas ready to go.
For sure.
Bye, guys.